Welcome everyone to the show. Ginette Biro here. Thank you all so much for joining me on the podcast. I'm excited to share some of these messages that came through from Spirit. They are wanting to really come close and remind us of what we know, but specifically at this time, because as we know, again, if you check out the March energy update, as well as the March astrology podcast that I've done so far this month, there's a lot going on. There's a lot happening this month, lots of things changing, high energy output from the cosmos onto our planet, as well high energy output from our planet going out to the cosmos. And we're really that interface in between. So our bodies are feeling it. Our mind and our deep thoughts are really being pushed to gain clarity on what it is we want, what we're creating, as well as momentum. There's a ton of momentum happening too. So if we go back to the card readings I've done on my YouTube page, as well as the mediumship insights that I do on Wednesdays on my YouTube page as well, where I do a general tune-in from the guides of what's going on in the energy, it has all been talking about this, about the momentum, about the train already being on the track for many of us. And so alignments are happening, like it's coming at us from every level. Life is changing. And in that, Spirit really wanted to talk today about your life force energy and how you value, respect, and recalibrate your life force is what they're saying. That's really interesting. Also, how different things can really draw from our life force, and one of those being false assumptions. So I'm really going to start there. So when we consider life force energy, that is like, the way that I would describe it is like this soul energetic pulse that runs through each of us. This pulsing line of frequency that comes from source, that moves through our bodies and helps us feel vibrant in this physical incarnation. Now, when it's in sync with what's happening with our human lives, either how we're taking care of our bodies, what we do for work, or how we express ourselves in our passion, how much we live in alignment in our frequency, we then can generate more life force energy. It's this beautiful flow of energy in, amplification of energy out, and we feel healthiest at that point. We feel most vibrant, most alive, and happy. Life force is so related to happiness. Now, when that's really being drained, though, is when we're out of alignment, when what we feel doesn't match with what's happening in our reality, when we're going against what feels natural for us or what we desire to do. So a really simple example that I think most of us have experienced at some point in our lives is doing a job that you don't like. And no matter how much that job pays you, if you do not like it and it doesn't resonate with you in any way that is significant, it drains your energy. So that even though you're bringing home that paycheck, you feel depleted, exhausted, irritable, and in fact, angry. Because when our life force energy is low, it takes from us. It like drains out, and we can have 3D narratives causing that drain. So if you look at media and you get caught up in the fear cycles, it doesn't mean you have to be ignorant of them. You can observe them. You can read about it, but notice how your body's feeling and what resonates for you. You can be completely aware, but not caught up in the fear. You can make choices based on conscious, rational, grounded, calm choice. So one thing to really consider as we, feel into our life force energy is what is bringing us energy and what is draining our energy. Are we spending enough time right now recalibrating? Now, if I bring in the idea of the amount of energy at play, like I mentioned in the beginning, coming from the cosmos, coming from Gaia, coming from the 3D narratives, there's a big drain on our energy. So we need to be somewhat protective of our energy field. So the ways that we can do that is we can really set some boundaries, either with others, but also with ourselves, of what we're willing to engage in and what we're not. Also creating sacred time for rest or recalibration, prioritizing joy in our lives in some form. And that joy, the way that it shows itself, can change. Sometimes your joy could be watching Netflix. right? With some snacks. And that's what you need in that moment to recalibrate. Other times your joy can be going for a run, playing sports, being creative, painting, all kinds of things. And it can always morph and change. So consider, where is your life force energy feeling at? What is the gauge or the dial at today? As you're listening to this right now, if you tune into your body, your mind, and your spirit, that beautiful trinity, what do you feel? Do you feel your tank is full? Do you feel it's half full? Can you pinpoint, is it more in your body that it's draining? Is it maybe more in your mind? Is it everywhere? Take stock of that, because that's going to give you a really clear framework of how to move forward, what to look at next then. If you notice your body is feeling depleted, okay, so I really notice my life force feels like it's draining out of my body. What am I doing? Am I pushing myself too hard at the gym? Am I not eating enough calories right now because I'm trying to fit into some idealized norm of what I should look like, right? Or am I not taking in the right calories? Am I, do I need a little bit more of this? Do I need to change my vitamins? Do whatever it may be. If you take a moment right now to kind of take stock of where your life force energy is your gauge up or down, notice it, because that is your soul light. And if your soul light is dimming, the only person that can change it is you. The only one that can, refill that soul energy cup is you, actually, because you're the one incarnated in the physical body. When you make space for recalibration and you honor all the parts in that trinity, then that source energy can come in and refuel you. But if you have a leak in that tank, right? Maybe your leak is your work. That no matter how much meditation and how much fitness and healthy eating and joy you do, the minute you get to work, it drains you in every possible way. Well, then there's a leak there energetically. And you need to do something to mend that leak or replace it, right? Replace the tank, meaning maybe you step out of that job. If you can't mend it by maybe taking on a different role or explaining your boundaries or maybe some creative ideas that would put the spark back into it, something needs to change because your life force energy is at risk. And so a lot of our health issues can really mend when our life force energy is topped up, when we are in balance. So again, that's why the body is a really, really neat interface to tap into to see where you maybe need a little bit more attention. If you find you're having headaches, if you tune in, why am I having headaches? Maybe it's because you're working too hard at the gym, but maybe you're having headaches because you're actually in your mind too much. Your body can tell you that. Maybe you're having tension, pain in your neck because you're sitting at your computer stressing about numbers of whatever it is you're working on. And you actually need to take a little bit of a step back. So again, life force energy, the Spirit's message really is it's time to engage in activities that really rejuvenate your mind and your body and your spirit. It's time to take stock of that trinity. Where are the leaks and what can you do to realign things so that that's not the case? And that's totally fine to do in this month as well. With all the changes, the astrological stuff right now, it's okay in this energy of momentum, like I've talked about, to also stop and rest. Just because there's momentum, it doesn't mean you need to be running with it 100% of the time. You can rest when needed. Just like our bodies go to sleep at night, even though we're working on something, maybe we're taking a big journey and hiking, across the Appalachian Mountains, right? We still stop at nighttime to sleep. Even though we're in the momentum of that journey, we still stop to rest and recalibrate. Same thing goes with the energetics on the planet and our life path. We get to stop and recalibrate. So something to consider with that. Now, another thing they want to say too is to really recognize where there are false assumptions at play right now, both within your own narrative and also in 3D narratives. So your own narratives, first of all, you may have old ideas of how things should be. Like, let's take grief, for example. Many people, when they talk about grief now, they talk about how when they really look at it, there's this preconceived general idea or accepted or expected norm of how we should grieve something. Maybe it's a loss of a job, a loss of a loved one, a loss of an identity. We have this preconceived idea of how we should grieve, how long it should last, what it should look like, what you should express, what you shouldn't. But there's a bit of a false assumption in that, because no two people are the same. Absolutely not. The way you grieve might be completely different from how I grieve something, and so on. So really recognizing the narratives in your mind, these false assumptions of what something should be, and then ask yourself, what do you need it to be? How do you need to be in this moment? And then if we look too at these narratives, it's asking yourself, is that narrative still accurate for you? Because maybe 10 years ago, it was accurate for you. But maybe who you are now in this moment, with all of the transforming you've done, it is no longer accurate, and it is now a false assumption. Because as with all things changing, so too can our narratives and assumptions change. So one good thing to really check in right now as we're observing our life force energy is, where do your assumptions or pre-programmed responses or known realities need to morph and change? Because we can't continue to move through massive expansion without changing some things. We can't use old programs always as things are changing into new. There's some adjustments that need to be made. So that's what they want you to consider within your personal realm, your own personal narrative. Now, when we look at 3D too, there are many different narratives on all levels, whether we're looking at politics, health, the economy, whatever direction you want to land it on. There are multiple narratives of what is apparently true in each narrative, right? Like, you could look at something within politics, and you could see that there are several sides, all speaking of their version of truth, and maybe all have something valid to say about that truth. But are there also false assumptions in there based on old narratives? So again, that's where you need to ask yourself, are you misunderstanding something? Or is something not resonating true for you? And what does that mean to you now? Now is just a great time to really consider what is real and what isn't to you, because also we're stepping into this understanding of really multifaceted realities. Some of you are very much aware of your essence, your soul being present in multiple realities at once. And one very simple example of that is those of you that recognize now that you have your waking state reality and you also have your dream state reality. And those that recognize that are able to often lucid dream. So you have the ability to, in your dream, if you don't like how it's happening, stop it, be like, wait a minute, this isn't what I want in this dream state. I would like to do this. And then you continue to recreate your dream state into something you want, right? Or you maybe are able to recognize when spirit messages come through in a dream state and you're very active and lucid or conscious in it. So to you, your dream state is as real in its own way and design as your waking state is, right? And so those are two more simpler ways of recognizing the multiple dimensional reality that we're stepping into. But there's more. There's different timelines. There's parallel realities, if you want to term it that. This awareness now is really changing our perspective on what is real and how one person's truth can very much, in fact, be their truth, while it doesn't also need to be the truth for the next person, even though they're contemplating, pondering, or talking about the same event or object or idea, right? It's multiple realities based on personal truths. So that's where we have to really consider where there are false assumptions, but where your reality may differ from someone else's doesn't necessarily mean it's only black or white. There are many shades of gray as we raise our level of consciousness. It's not about just duality anymore, it's about consciousness, which again, many shades of gray. Or you know what, as I like to say actually, instead of just shades of gray between black and white, I love to envision it as rainbow. There are many colors of the rainbow and so many shades within each individualized color. So some people might be coming at it from the blue perspective and somebody else comes at it from the yellow perspective, but both are encompassed in the totality of a rainbow. So something to consider. And so one of the ways to really move through those false assumptions and recognize where they are, either in 3D or in your reality, is to really rise above. How high of a perspective can you pull your consciousness so that you can view the whole situation? And sometimes what I like to imagine is myself in a hot air balloon. So say there's something happening in, let's just say politics. We'll use that again. So say there's something happening in politics and there's 3 different parties converging on one thought or idea. What I like to do is picture myself in a hot air balloon and I'm being pulled up, 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 so that when I look down, I can look at the truth behind every political party and their reason for why they're saying what they're saying. Where are they coming from? What is the story that brought them to that conclusion? Why do they feel strongly that that is their reality? And how does that play into the full picture? And then I'll do the same for the next one and the next one. And this is really a neat way that we can also deal with different interactions with people, or maybe areas where there's miscommunication within families or friendships. It's when we rise above and really look at what brought that person to that point to make that judgment, that claim, that whatever it is, what brought them there, then we can understand the why. We can then also see, ponder to ourselves, does this fit my reality or not? Can I also hold space that this is their reality? Do I need to take it personally? Yes, no, usually not. Because from that perspective, we realize it's all about choices, actions, and then compassion. So rising above really will help you gain clarity on the situations when you can really see it from that higher perspective. So something to consider. And if that hot air balloon imagery really helps, then please use it. I will literally, when I feel like I'm just feeling, so wobbly from all the angles of something, some narrative, I'll picture myself literally walking up to a hot air balloon, opening the little net or the basket, getting in, and then pulling the lever so that it lifts me up, and then I will take stock of it. And one of the things too that I find is when we step out of the energy of what's going on in the 3D world and we rise above it, we actually can also rest and recalibrate our frequency in the higher energy. It's nourishing. So we get to recalibrate first, we get to calm ourselves, and then we get to peer over the edge of the basket and really look at what's going on. Where did it all come from? What leads it to that central point? Something to consider. Now, the last thing I want to say too is there is a big influence and energy coming forward of support from the cosmos, from the stars, from the galactic community, from star families, star peoples, whatever your term is, aliens, ETs, interdimensionals, interfrequentials. I mean, there's so many words out there. Higher levels of consciousness is really what I want to say. So from the angelic realm, I know there's a ton of them coming forward to really help us on this planet. The Galactic Federation as well. There's a lot of support, insight, and energy helping us move forward. So in those moments where it really feels like, you're pushing yourself to the max, trying your best to push forward, make this all happen, live your life to the best, push, consider your life force energy. Step back a little bit, see it from the higher perspective, check your narratives and false assumptions, and just kind of take a knee for a moment. And then connect into those higher frequencies, because in those higher frequencies, there's a lot of guidance really wanting to help us move forward right now. And I would imagine that many of you listening to my podcast have people from the stars in some form as a part of your council, bringing in that guidance. So whether it's Pleiadians, Arcturians, Lyrans, Andromedans, angels for that matter, there are many that sit on all of our councils that are here to help teach us and help us grow. And with so much energy coming down right now to bring us into that higher consciousness, they really want us to feel supported and not like we're left alone. And so I say that because then that leads me into their last statement, that although things can seem so chaotic in 3D, we are moving in a really good direction energetically. More and more people are awakening, and I mean awakening to, looking outside the box, starting to critically think for themselves. Many people are starting to awaken. We've actually created a ripple effect of awakening that is creating a tipping point. And this is a beautiful thing. They're saying it's on schedule. It's on time. So we're not behind. We are on time. Things are moving in the right direction. The more you can connect into the multifaceted nature of yourself, the more you're going to recognize how you are a big player in what happens on this planet at this time. You are divinely here for a reason, as many, star seeds, light workers, psychics, mediums, healers are all saying you're here for a reason at this time. You absolutely are. We all are. So keep moving forward in your journey. Keep checking your narratives. Tune into your spirit team because they want to be here for you, bringing messages through. Again, dream state is a really active state right now. And then really keep track of your life force energy. What do you need to do to rebalance it? What does that look like? And they're bringing in a ton of peaceful energy. So I don't know if you're feeling that, but I sure am. It's feeling really lovely and peaceful. So I hope, if nothing else, listening to this episode today has allowed your body to feel a little bit of rest, to feel a little bit of peace, to take that extra breath, and really help you kind of keep recalibrating as we move through this really impactful but beautiful month. So I will leave that all with you today. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me on the show. I love and appreciate your comments, your feedback. Please do rate and review the podcast or subscribe. That really helps all of the algorithms and how all that kind of stuff works. And I am so looking forward to connecting with all of you next week. So have a beautiful week, everyone, and I will see you soon.